This is Dr. Falak Oza Patel. I am an assistant professor in the physiotherapy in cardiopulmonary branch at UN Mehta Institute of Cardiology and Research Center, Ahmedabad. Today our topic is about the exercise testing in cardiac rehabilitation. We all know about the cardiac rehabilitation. We all know what is exercise testing. But which exercise test will be used in cardiac rehab? We are going to talk about that today. The content of today's presentation would be cardiac rehabilitation, just an overview of that, exercise testing, importance of the exercise testing, basic physiology of exercise testing, outcome measure used in testing, types of the test, and overview of different type of the exercise testing, per se cardiopulmonary exercise test, step testing, 6-minute walk test, or the shuttle walk test. So we'll start with the cardiac rehabilitation. As the definition says, cardiac rehab is a multidisciplinary program of education and exercise established to assist individuals with heart disease to achieve optimal physical, psychological and functional status within the limits of their heart diseases. So any patient who is having any cardiac disease or the event or surgery are candidate of the cardiac rehabilitation. Indication of the cardiac rehab are acute MI, coronary artery bypass grafting, angioplasty with or without stenting, heart transplantation, valvular replacement or the repair surgeries, congestive heart failure, chronic stable angina pectoris or any surgery which involves the major blood vessels. While the contraindication of the cardiac rehab is unstable angina, moderate to severe aortic stenosis, uncontrolled arrhythmia, recent embolism, uncontrolled or poorly controlled hypertension, acute systemic illness like fever, orthopedic or neurological impairments, and patients who are unwilling to participate in the cardiac rehabilitation program. Now, exercise testing. First of all, what is exercise testing by definition? So, if we say exercise testing is a non-invasive procedure that provides diagnostic and prognostic information and evaluates the individual capacity for dynamic exercises. Why it is important? Because this process or this test are non-invasive. So patient can undergo different type of the test depending on their disease or their condition. What is the importance of doing this exercise test? As we know, physiological stress or the exercise, they can elicit the cardiovascular or the respiratory abnormality which are not evident at rest. If a person is not having any symptom at rest, we can still elicit any underlying diseases by doing this exercise testing. These tests can be used to determine the affection in the cardiac or the respiratory system or the function that is affected due to any underlying disease. Exercise test can help to generate a baseline to plan and progress the exercise plans for the cardiac rehabilitation candidate. This test can be used in either diagnosis, assessment of the functional exercise capacity of the individual, planning an exercise prescription of an individual, or assessing the response to the therapies given. What is the physiology of exercise? Like how this exercise test we can interpret and how we can use this exercise test while planning the exercise regime of the cardiac rehabilitation candidate. So during exercise, we know that body's oxygen demand is increased. As we exercise, body's oxygen consumption increases and so does the oxygen demand. So as an attempt to meet this demand during the exercise, our body tried to make different changes in the different system. Like there are multiple changes in the cardiovascular as well as the respiratory and the metabolic system while doing exercise. If we say or if we talk about some of them, it is like while we exercise, the heart rate increases, the systolic blood pressure increases, the respiratory rate increases, and so does the cardiac output. If we talk about the diastolic blood pressure, it either remains same or declines slightly during the exercise. So this is our body's basic physiology to cope up with the increasing oxygen demand. So if we talk about the blood distribution during the exercise, what happens when a person is exercising and the rest? If we try to understand this image, the lower part of this image, that is showing the heart at rest and the blood flow in the different part of our body during rest. At rest, the cardiac output it will be around 5 liter per minute. At that time, the muscles are getting 15 to 20% of our total cardiac output, that would be around 0.75 liter per minute. This is the scenario at rest. Now, if we talk about the scenario while the exercising or the heavy exercise, I would say, or the vigorous exercise, what is happening in the heart? During the heavy exercises, the blood distribution is again changed. How? The blood would be shunted at the working muscle. So the muscle or the working muscle would be getting around 20 liter per minute of the blood from the 25 liter per minute cardiac output. Here you can see at rest the cardiac output, which was 5 liter per minute, is increased up to 25 liter per minute by this all the physiological changes happening in the body, like increase in heart rate, increasing BP, increase in respiratory rate, everything that is increasing our cardiac output at the end. So during heavy exercises, our body's muscle would be getting around 80 to 85% of this cardiac output. So this is how the blood redistribution occur during the exercise. Now, talking about the outcome measures. If we are doing some test or making patient or the subject exercise, we should be having some outcome measure to decide whether the test is proper for the subject, whether the test is proper for the individual or for their disease, whether the test we have used is right for the prognosis, whether the test we are using is right or not for deciding the treatment regime. So for that we should be having some of the outcome measure. So before discussing the outcome measure, we will first discuss about the Fick's principle or the Fick's equation. As you can see here, Fick's equation says VO2 is equal to cardiac output into atriovenous oxygen difference. So we already talked about the blood redistribution during the exercise. Now as here you can see, as the atriovenous oxygen difference changes, so does the cardiac output change, and at the same time we will be having change in our VO2 max or VO2, that is the oxygen consumption, right? So at this moment, what is happening? As you make a person exercise, their stroke volume will increase, their heart rate will increase, so does their cardiac output. And this all in turn will increase your VO2, that is your oxygen consumption of the person according to their body weight. If we talk about the outcome measures used in cardiac rehabilitation or the exercise testing, the common outcome measures are VO2 max, metabolic equivalent, rate of perceived exertion, heart rate variability, rate pressure product, respiratory exchange ratio, heart rate reserve, etc. These are just a few of them. There are plenty of outcome measures which we can take into consideration while doing the exercise testing based on the test used. Let's talk about VO2 max. So what is VO2 max? All of us would be knowing the term VO2 max. VO2 max is the maximal oxygen consumption or maximum oxygen uptake or the aerobic capacity of the individual. As the definition says, it is the maximum capacity of individual's body to transport and to use the oxygen during the incremental exercise, which reflects the physical capacity of the individual. We are going for this again, that is the maximal capacity of an individual's body to transport and to use the oxygen during the incremental exercise, which reflects the physical fitness of the individual. The definition suggests we need the good cardiovascular and the respiratory system to transport the oxygen or the maximum oxygen needed, and we need the good metabolism to use this oxygen. So if there is any problem in either of the system, let it be the cardiovascular or the respiratory or the metabolic system, the VO2 max would be affected, or the physical capacity or physical fitness of the person would be affected. This VO2 max is expressed as liter of the oxygen per minute used or the ml of the oxygen per kg body weight, that is the relative to the body weight of the individual. VO2 max is reached when the oxygen consumption remains steady even if the workload is increasing. So what this suggests, even if you are increasing the load or even if you are increasing the load of the exercise, the VO2 would be, or the O2 consumption would be at the steady state. This steady state or this level is known as the maximum oxygen uptake of the individual. For VO2 max of the athlete can be reached around 60 to 70 ml per kg per body weight, right? So normal VO2 of the individual would be 3.5 ml per kg per body weight, that is 1 MET. Now what is this MET? MET is the resting oxygen uptake of the individual in the sitting position. MET, that is the resting oxygen uptake in the sitting position, and which is about 3.5 ml per kg per minute. Here you can see the different activity depicting the 1 to 10 METs. Like whenever you are sitting or reading, the MET would be 1. But on the contrary, if a person would be running, the MET would be around 8 to 10. That is 8 to 10 times of this 3.5 ml per kg body weight. So for running you need 10 times more oxygen rather than in sitting. That is your MET or the metabolic equivalent. The picture is showing you the different activity with the different MET levels. Now we will talk about the rate of perceived exertion, that is one of the important outcome measure. Now what is rate of perceived exertion? As the name suggests, it is the level of exertion a person himself perceives. Like it is a subjective measure. If I am exercising, it would be my perseverance for the exertion. What exertion level I am feeling, that would be my RPE. There are different type of the scale for the RP. Here I am showing that modified box scale, that is 1 to 10 scale, where 1 is very light activity and 10 is maximum effort. Beyond that a person is not able to work out. That is the maximal effort. That is your RPE, rate of perceived exertion. Again it is a subjective measure. Now this was all about the exercise physiology, about the basic outcome measure, that is VO2 max, MET, RP. This was about the basic physiology and the changes in the body during the exercise or the exercise testing. Now what are the different type of the exercise testing? If we divide the exercise testing in the major groups depending on the effort or depending on the intensity, there are two major groups, that is one is maximal exercise test and other is sub-maximal exercise test. Maximal exercise test is further divided into field test or the laboratory test, while the sub-maximal tests are again divided into field walk or run test or the step test. First we will talk about the maximal exercise testing. As the name suggests here, in this test individual will work up to his maximum effort of his work capacity. Here you have to exert the individual, or in the scenario of cardiac rehab you have to exert the patient up to their maximum effort of their work capacity. What is the maximum exercise test? CPET, that is cardiopulmonary exercise test, that is a gold standard for the maximal exercise testing or to deciding the VO2 max of the individual. VO2 max can be decided through the CPET. CPET can be done on either of the following based on the need or the availability of the equipment. So CPET can be done either through the treadmill or cycle ergometer or the arm ergometer. You have to decide what equipment you want to use depending on the availability you have, or if you have 3 of them you have to decide on the need of the patient. What your patient would be able to do nicely, what equipment will exert them to their maximum. You have to decide from that. For maximal exercise testing, as we talked already, they can be field test or the laboratory test. If we talk about the cardiopulmonary exercise testing, that is CPET, that is a whole other topic to be discussed which require a lot of time. But we'll just have the brief of the test just for the brief understanding. So if we talk about the CPAT, we'll talk about the treadmill test here. So treadmill test, this involve making the patient walk on a treadmill in accordance to the set protocol that stress the individual to their maximal exercise capacity. Again, here we are talking about the maximal exercise testing. In that we are talking about the CPAT with the treadmill equipment. So CPAT with treadmill, here we are making the subject walk on the treadmill with the set protocol which stress the individual in the maximum exercise capacity, right? So what is the CPAT is all about? In CPAT, the stressing or the loading or the intensity of the test is fixed by some protocol. There are various kind of the protocol. The protocols are different for treadmill, the protocol are different for the arm ergometer, the protocols are different for the cycle ergometer. If we are still talking about the treadmill, there are many of the protocol you can use while doing the CPAT with treadmill, right? These tests are highly sensitive for the clinical diagnosis of coronary arterial disease, right? The heart rate and the rhythm, the BP response, the respiratory rate and the rate of perceived exertion are closely monitored before, during and after the test to determine the abnormality. So as we talked already during the physiology, even if a person is not having any significant or evident symptom and he is having some underlying disease, if you do this treadmill test, you can still see the abnormality in any of the parameter which suggest a CAD or the coronary arterial disease. Okay. The different type of the protocol, if we name a few, there are Bruce protocol, modified Bruce protocol, Balkes protocol, modified Balkes protocol, Norton protocol, RAM protocol, STEP protocol. I am just giving an example of the Bruce treadmill protocol here. So Bruce treadmill protocol, that was designed by Robert Bruce. It was designed in 1963. This protocol, as you can see in this picture or slide, there is a fixed stage. There are fixed stage of the individual speed and the grading and the duration. In Bruce protocol, the duration of each stage would be 3 minutes. Each stage would last for 3 minutes. So subject or person would be walking on the treadmill for the same gradation and the same speed, that is the same exercise intensity for 3 minutes. If he is able to walk for that 3 minutes, the stage would be higher. So either the speed and the inclination would increase, so the load on the patient's CV system would increase. Like that, there are different stages up to 1 to 9 stage. The Bruce treadmill protocol was designed in 1963, which is a non-invasive protocol, and this is the common method to indirectly estimate the VO2. Now you can see here what is the speed of the minimum stage, that is 1.7. 1.7 is the speed, mile per hour is the speed. Inclination would be 0 for the first 3 minutes. If a person is able to walk for this 3 minutes, the stage will automatically would be upgraded to stage 2. That would be speed will still be same, that is 1.7, but the inclination would be 5. Again, if he is able to walk for the 3 minutes, now in the modified stage, that is the third stage, that is full one, the speed would again be 7, but the inclination would be 10. As again, if a person is able to walk for this, now you can see from the stage 4, the speed would be increased to 2.5, and with every 3 minute stage, the inclination would be increased by 2 to 2 grades. Clear? So like this, the intensity or the load on the CV system would be increased. The stress is increasing gradually. As we talked in the VO2 max, once the steady state of the oxygen will come, you can indirectly say that is the VO2 max of that person in that stage. In this protocol, individual walks on the treadmill up till the complete exhaustion, up to the complete exhaustion. Once a person is not able to walk for that stage, we have to stop the test or terminate the test at that level. What are the assessment variables? What you assess while doing this treadmill test or doing CPAT, we have to check the hemodynamic response, that is your heart rate, your diastolic and systolic blood pressure responses. With every stage you have to keep checking their heart rate and the blood pressure response. While doing CPET, you have to continuously see the ECG waveform, whether there is any STT changes, there is any ectopic beats coming, if there is any rhythm abnormality, you have to continuously assess those abnormality while doing the CPET. Rate of perceived exertion, we have already discussed this. And third is limiting all clinical sign and symptoms. Even if a person there is not always any of this abnormality. Sometimes a patient would tell you he is having calf pain, or he is having some headache, or he is having some giddiness. You have to consider all the limiting signs and symptoms for terminating or stopping the test. What is the indication? Now, what is the indication for terminating this exercise testing? There are few absolute indications are if the systolic blood pressure drop is greater than 10 mm of Hg from the baseline, despite the increase in the workload. So, even if the stage of the exercise testing is going higher, the systolic blood pressure is decreasing. We know the body's basic response is to increase the systolic blood pressure. But even if the workload is increasing, the intensity is increasing, the inclination is increasing. So, even if the workload is increasing, but the systolic blood pressure is decreased greater than 10 mm of Hg from the resting, you have to terminate the test immediately. Second, if there is a moderately severe angina, you have to continuously check for the angina scale. You have to keep asking the individual for the angina scale. If the angina scale, if the patient is rating is more than 3, you have to terminate the test. Increasing nervous system symptoms, as I already told you that if patient is having any blackouts, if he is having any fainting symptoms, if he is having any giddiness or the headache, you have to terminate the test. Signs of poor perfusion, if the subject desire to stop. Sustained ventricular tachycardia, already I told you have to keep checking the ECG abnormality and the heart rate and BP response while doing this exercise testing. And most importantly, ST elevation more than 10 mm in any lead without the diagnostic Q waves. You have to terminate the CPET immediately if any of these signs or symptoms you see while doing the test. So what you get from this exercise test, or what is the interpretation of the exercise test? So first, if you are doing it for the diagnostic purpose, it can be interpreted as either positive or the negative exercise testing. What is the positive exercise test? That means there is a point in the exercise test at which the myocardial supply was inadequate to meet the demand. That is the positive one, which suggests there is some underlying problem with the CV system or the respiratory system, right? That is the positive exercise testing. Negative exercise testing is at every tested level of the physiological workload, there was a balance between the uptake and the supply and the demand. So that is negative exercise test. That means the person is not having any underlying cardiovascular diseases. This was for the diagnostic purpose. If we are talking about the exercise test done in the cardiac rehabilitation to plan the progress of the exercise therapy or to decide the exercise prescription, what is the interpretation of this test? If we are talking about the interpretation of exercise test for cardiac rehabilitation, you have to check for the workload or the stage or the intensity person or patient achieved in the previous session or the previous test, and after giving a certain amount or certain session of rehab, what is the change in his VO2 or what is the change in the parameter while doing this exercise test after the rehabilitation. So from this you can decide whether your rehabilitation is helping patient to improve his workload or the physical capacity or not. This was all about the maximal test. If we talk about the CPET and individual parameter, there are more than 20 to 25 parameter you can see from the CPET. This can be discussed in the whole different lecture series. Now we will talk about the submaximal test, which is ideally more safe and important while treating the cardiac disease patient or while doing the exercise prescription or progressing the exercise prescription of the cardiac rehabilitation patient. So what is submaximal test? As the name suggests, the submaximal test, subject works below their maximal capacity or the submaximal capacity. They are not exerting to their maximum. So this is considerably the safe test. You are not exerting the cardiac patient to their maximum, but still you get the submaximal value of the VO2. That you can say that you can get the VO2 peak. You can still get the targeted heart rate, you can still get the exercise response or the hemodynamic response with the graded exercises. So what are the some examples? What are some example of this submaximal test? Is self-paced walking test, symptom limited walk test, 6-minute walk test, shuttle walk test, step test, time up and go test. There are plenty of tests which can be used depending on the patient's condition or the availability of the equipment or the space you have or the infrastructure you have. You have to decide on that basis. We will discuss about some of the majorly used submaximal tests today, which is used in cardiac rehabilitation and which will give you the basic idea of whether to progress with their exercise, whether to do some improvement in their exercise prescription, or whether to improve their session of the cardiac rehabilitation. We will talk about the modified shuttle walk test. So first of all, what is shuttle walk test? If we talk about the shuttle walk test, in this a patient or a person has to do running in the 20-meter corridor. He has to run in a 20-meter corridor to and fro. That is the shuttle walk test, right? Shuttle walk test assesses the maximal aerobic power. Again, shuttle walk is a maximal test, but for rehabilitation we will be using the modified shuttle walk test, not the shuttle run test. There is a difference between the run and the walk test. So what is run test is, in this test the subject has to run between the two fixed line which is drawn at the 20 meter apart, and they have to run with the pace set by the signal of a cassette tape. There is a pre-recorded shuttle beeps. Now, for the shuttle run test, there are different pre-recorded beats, and for the shuttle walk test, we have the other set of the recorded beats. The starting speed should be 8.5 km, and the frequency of the signal will be increased by 0.5 km at each minute. So this was about the run test. But we are talking about the walk test, shuttle walk test. Okay, so as you know, the shuttle run test was designed for the athlete who were participating in the sports and which require constant stopping, turning, starting, running, right? But if we are talking about the disease population or the cardiac or the patient population, this run test was too strenuous. From this there was development of a 10 meter 12 level shuttle walking test in the adult. The shuttle walk test was initially validated in the COPD population. Shuttle walk test was initially validated in the COPD population. So what is this test? This test is having a 10 meter corridor, and there are 12 different level of the shuttle walking. You don't need to run in between these shuttles. You have to walk for the 12 different stages. Now, this test is validated for different population and the different disease population as well. So somehow in some patient group the test was felt to be easy. In some of the patient group, this test was easy. So the modified shuttle walk test was divided, in which 3 additional levels were added. So initial was the shuttle walk test with 10 meter and 12 levels. What we are talking about, modified shuttle walk test, that is having 15 levels. What is the indication of doing this shuttle walk test? Which patients or which population is the candidate? Before and after treatment comparison. So if we are talking about the cardiac rehabilitation, you can decide the progression by doing this test, pre and post. Lung transplantation and lung resection, pulmonary rehabilitation, pulmonary hypertension, heart failure, to measure the functional status of the patient, COPD, cystic fibrosis and PVD, that is peripheral vascular diseases. So out of this, if we know the heart failure, the functional status patient, the peripheral vascular disease patient and the before and after comparison are the indication for the cardiac rehabilitation candidates. What is the procedure of this test? In this test, a person has to walk to and fro in a 10-meter corridor with a fixed beep from a cassette. There would be a fixed beep from the cassette which will be increasing in speed, which will be increasing the speed of the person up to the level of 15 stages. A person has to walk for 15 stages to complete the test. If he is not able to complete, you can decide from the stage he have achieved, you can decide the VO2 peak from this test. What are the contraindication for doing this modified shuttle walk test? If we talk about the absolute contraindication, that is acute MI. So MI before 3 to 5 days, unstable angina, uncontrolled arrhythmia which causing the symptoms of hemodynamic compromises, syncope, acute myocarditis, pericarditis and symptomatic severe aortic stenosis. These are the absolute contraindication for this shuttle walk test. Relative contraindication, if we talk, like we can still consider this patient, but you have to check for the other symptom as well. So moderate stenotic valvular heart disease apart from this aortic stenosis, severe untreated arterial hypertension at rest. So systolic blood pressure greater than or equal to 200 and diastolic greater than or equal to 120, they are relative contraindicated for the shuttle walk test or the modified shuttle walk test. High degree of AV block, that is more than 2 or more than or equal to second degree of heart block. Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, significant pulmonary hypertension, advanced or complicated pregnancy and orthopedic impairment. This all of the condition are the relative contraindication for modified shuttle walk test. As you can see, if we talk about the procedure, treatment area or the test area should be at least 12 meter in length. Why 12 meter? To cover the turning. The test area would be 10 meter. The standard instruction to be given and the audio cassette tape. Again, for the shuttle walk test, there is a fixed shuttle tape which gives you the instruction of the test as well as it gives you the shuttle beeps. Subjects required to walk back and forth turning around the two cones placed 9 meter apart, making the shuttle distance 10 meter long. So there should be cones placed at 10 meter distance and subject has to go through back and forth turning around the cone placed at 9 meter apart. The subject must keep the pace with the pre-recorded signal such that they complete the turn with each sound beep. So between the audio cassette gives you the sound beep, you have to complete that shuttle turn. If you are unable to do that, the shuttle test is terminated, right? So subject must be able to keep up the pace with the pre-recorded auditory signals. So once this shuttle test is started, you have to keep noticing the beep signs. One beep indicates the length of one shuttle. So length of one shuttle is indicated by single beep and 3 beep indicate increase in the speed. So as we already talked, there are 15 stages. Whenever there are 3 beep, the stage would be changed. There are 12 levels of the speed beginning at 0.50 meter per second and ending at 2.37 meter per second. Starting speed is 0.50 meter per second and ending speed is 2.37 meter per second. Here I have shown the 12 level of the shuttle walk test. In the 15, accordingly the speed limit is increased up to 3.74. Okay. The test is measured in meter and no encouragement should be provided during the test. If the patient chooses to stop or fails to keep up to the auditory signal after the one warning, the test will be terminated. You have to give one warning even if the patient is not able to complete the shuttle with the beeps. Once the warning is done, and even if the patient fails to complete the shuttle, you have to terminate the test. This test will also terminate if the patient reach up to 85% of the maximal heart rate. You have to see the targeted and the maximal heart rate through the Karven's formula. In the figure, you can see the 1 to 12 stages of the modified shuttle test. Here you can see 0.50 is the starting speed for the first stage, while in the 12th stage, eventually increasing the speed. The 12th stage, the speed is 2.37 meter per second. As you can see, while in the maximal exercise testing, the starting speed for the Bruce protocol was 1.7. In this 1.7, if you are reaching at the 1.7 without an inclination, that is your stage 5, almost stage 5 to 6 in this test. So that is why it is a sub-maximal test. You are not taxing the individual to their maximum capacity. So this was all about the shuttle walk test. Again, shuttle walk test was initially derived as a shuttle run test for the maximal capacity. It was beneficial for the athlete. It was too strenuous for the patient, and that is why the shuttle walk test was derived, which was having the different type of the stages, 12 stages, and the distance was reduced to the 10 meter. For the some disease population, initially the shuttle walk test was validated for the COPD population. It was easier for some of the young population, that is why a modified was achieved with the 15 stages. In shuttle walk test, a person has to walk back and forth in a 10-meter corridor with the shuttle. The beeping is given by the pre-recorded audio cassette. Single beep gives you the idea of the length of one shuttle, and 3 beep shows you the change of the stage or increasing in the speed. So that was all about the shuttle walk test. Now we are talking about the 6-minute walk test. This is the most widely used sub-maximal test around the globe. This test is safe and easy to administer, and this test is safe for the cardiac disease patient as well as the metabolic or the pulmonary disease patient. So what is 6-minute walk test? First of all, if we talk about a little bit of the history about the test, initially the 12-minute walk test was introduced by McGivney and the colleague to assess the distance which was covered in the 12-minute time in the patient having the chronic bronchitis. The walk test was derived, a shuttle walk test was derived in the COPD population. The 12-minute walk test was derived in the chronic bronchitis population. This test was modified from 12-minute run test described by the Cooper for individual without any health problem. So 6-minute walk test was for the people with the bronchitis. Run test was derived for the individuals without having any health problem. Furthermore, the similar result were achieved by doing the test for 6 minutes. So Butland given a 6-minute walk test in which the 6-minute test was done either in the place of 12-minute walking or running. The Guyot et al. Applied the 6-minute walk test in the individual with heart failure. So as I already told, in the cardiac rehabilitation, this is a validated and established test. 6-minute walk test is the most widely used and established test for the cardiac population. What equipment we require to administer a 6-minute walk test? First of all, you need a 30-meter corridor. A 30-meter unobstructed corridor. That is a corridor or the infrastructure requirement. But equipments you need are the countdown timer or the stopwatch. You need 2 small cones to mark the turnaround point. You need a chair so patient can sit if he feels fatigue while doing this test. This chair should be easily moved along the walking course. You need a worksheet to register the labs patient has done, a source of oxygen for any case of emergency, a sphygmomanometer, a telephone, an automated electronic defibrillator. As you will be doing this test on a cardiac rehab population, so AED is a must and a crash cart is a must. Patient preparation. This was the equipment required. Now we will talk about the patient preparation. What instruction the patient should be given before the test? Patient should be given instruction for comfortable clothing should be worn. Appropriate shoes for the walking. Whatever shoes or footwear he is using in the daily activity, he should be using the same footwear to get the maximum of the benefit of this test. Patient should wear their usual walking aid during the test. If a person is walking with cane or walker, he should do the 6-minute walk test with the same walking aid. A patient's usual medical regime should be continued. There is no need to stop any specific medication to administer this test. If a patient is taking beta blocker or patient is taking any kind of roteller, he should be taking the medication as prescribed by the physician. A light meal is acceptable before the early morning or early afternoon test. If you are planning the test in the early morning or the early afternoon, you can allow the patient to have a light meal before the test. The patient should not have exercised vigorously within 2 hours prior to the test. Before the test, advise the patient to not exercise vigorously. So for administering this test, the patient should be sitting in a chair which is located near the starting point for at least 10 minutes before the test starts. This will give them the basic relaxation required before the test. During this time, check for the contraindication, measure the pulse and the blood pressure of the patient, make sure the clothing and shoes are appropriate. Have the patient to stand and rate their baseline dyspnea and overall fatigue using the box scale. Set the lap counter to 0 and timer to the 6 minute. Assemble all the necessary equipment at the starting point with the therapist. How you terminate the test or when to terminate the test? Patient's vitals are taken immediately after the test and then at the end of the 2 minute and 5 minute or until it come to the baseline. Once the test is done, you have to check the vitals post the test immediately after the 2 minute and at the end of 5 minute. By the end of 5 minute, most probably the patient's vital come to the baseline. If it is not came to the baseline, you have to keep checking until it comes to the baseline. Count the number of the laps on the worksheet and calculate the distance covered by the patient and refer to the worksheet for the details. Now, how you perform this test? You need a 30-meter corridor. There is a fixed guideline to perform the test by the ATS, that is American Thoracic Society. While performing the test, you cannot encourage or motivate the patient while walking. You have to tell the patient to walk on their comfortable speed and they have to cover as much distance as they can within 6 minutes. The patient is allowed to rest if they feel any fatigue while during the test, but you have to continue the timer. The timer for the 6 minutes won't stop. You have to just register or note down the time for what patient has taken the rest. So it will help you while calculating the VO2 or the other parameter of the test. While doing this test, before and after the hemodynamics should be checked. So before starting the test, check for the pulse, heart rate, blood pressure, RPE. Ask for the RPE and the fatigue scale of the patient. Make patient walk for the 30 meter for the 6 minutes as tell him to complete as many laps as he can within the 6 minutes. At the end of the termination, you have to check the vitals again immediately after the test at the 2 minute and at the 5 minute. If at the end of the 5 minutes still the vitals are not in the baseline, you have to keep checking until it comes to the baseline. You have to count the number of the laps. As the corridor or the treatment or the test area is of 30 meter, you can multiply the laps done with the 30, so you will get the predicted or the actual distance patient has covered with the 6 minute test. For the 6 minute walk test, we have the predicted value for the male and female depending on their height, their weight and their age. From the predicted distance, you can decide whatever percentage of the prediction patient has covered while doing this 6 minute walk test. So that is the first outcome measure of 6 minute walk test, that is the 6 minute walk distance. From this distance, you can decide what level of the rehabilitation this patient need. Second thing, from this 6-minute walk test, VO2 peak can be calculated with the established formulas. This was all about the step test, all about the 6-minute walk test. The last part of the submaximal test is the step test. There are plenty of step tests. To name a few, we will be talking about the Harvard step test, Queenscuddy step test and Seconolfe step test. All of three is the submaximal test. So what is the difference in this three of the test? Three of the test, the height of the step is different first. Second, in three of the test, the metronome beat or the speed of the stepping is different. Otherwise, from all of the step testing, you can get the predicted VO2 max value or the VO2 peak value. From this step test, you can get the MET value. But the procedure of doing this test is different. For the Harvard step test, the metronome beat is set at 120 beats per minute. So, first beep is 1, 2, 3 and 4, that is your first step. With one beep, your left leg goes up. With second beep, your right leg goes up. With third beep, your left leg come down. And with the fourth, left leg come down. That is your one step. So, 120 beats per metronome beats per minute is the step speed of the Harvard step test. For the Queenscuddy, the step speed is 88 beats per minute. So, you can see in the Harvard step test, you have to do the 30 step up and step down in 1 minute, while in Queenscuddy step test, you have to do 22 step up and step down in 1 minute. For Harvard step test, the step length is higher than the Queenscuddy one. Seconolfe step test, if we talk about, it is a stage step test. Here, with every 2 minutes, the speed of the metronome is faster. In the first stage, the Seconolfe first stage, the speed of the metronome beat would be different. If a person is able to complete that first stage of 2 minutes, the step goes to the higher metronome beats. In cardiac rehabilitation or the disease population, we have to consider whether you want to administer a step test or not, depending on their physical capacity as well as depending on their stepping capacity. If a person is having any kind of the back pain or knee pain, the step test shouldn't be administered in the cardiac rehabilitation population. So this was all about the maximal exercise test and the submaximal exercise testing. Here you have to decide solely on the patient preference, the equipments you have with you, the availability of the equipments, the infrastructure you have, and how safely you can administer the exercise test in the given patient. Cardiac rehabilitation patient can do the submaximal exercise test as well as the maximal exercise test if the proper precaution and the test preparation is done. These were the references for all the tests. This is all about the exercise testing in the rehab. Thank you so much.